Why spend thousands on a basic will when you can get access to legal help for around $1 a day? With Legal Shield, you can put a full estate plan in place, including a will, health directives, and powers of attorney to help protect your family and hard-earned assets. Sign up today at LegalShield.com and get 10% off our annual plans. It's finally simple and affordable. Legal Shield. Real lawyers, really affordable. Sign up at LegalShield.com. That's LegalShield.com. Legal Shield does not provide legal representation or advice. See a plan for complete terms.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. On June 15, 1944, while the world's attention was fixed on the beaches of Normandy, where Allied forces had landed 9 days earlier, 8,000 United States Marines hit the beaches of a small island in the Central Pacific. The island was called Saipan. The Japanese garrison defending it numbered 30,000. The Marines landed anyway. What followed over the next 24 days was one of the most brutal, most strategically consequential, and least remembered battles of the entire Second World War. A fight that changed the trajectory of the Pacific War more decisively than almost any other single engagement, and that ended with scenes of human tragedy that haunt the historical record to this day. Our history brief today covers some recent history news. A quick word from our sponsors.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This day in history. On May 26, 1896, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was first published, creating a stock market index that would become one of the most recognized indicators of the American economy. On May 26, 1940, Operation Dynamo began as Allied forces launched the evacuation of Dunkirk during World War II, rescuing hundreds of thousands of soldiers trapped by advancing German forces. Story of the day. Let's start with the geography of the Pacific War in the summer of 1944. It just kind of makes sense here. Saipan is one of the Mariana Islands, a chain of volcanic islands roughly 1,500 miles south of Japan. American military planners had identified the Marianas as the key to the entire Pacific campaign. If the United States could take the Marianas, Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, it would have air bases within striking distance of the Japanese home islands themselves. The new B-29 Superfortress bomber had a combat range of approximately 3,000 miles. From Saipan, it could actually reach Tokyo. For Japan, the Marianas were equally understood as a line that just could not be crossed. Japanese imperial strategy had designated them part of the absolute national defensive perimeter, a zone beyond which American forces could not be permitted to advance. The Japanese military leadership knew exactly what American possession of Saipan would mean. They called it a matter of national survival. And they were not wrong. The American invasion fleet that assembled for Operation Forager was staggering in its scale. More than 800 ships, over 127,000 troops, Marines, and Army soldiers prepared for the assault. It was the largest amphibious operation in the Pacific War up to that point. The Japanese garrison on Saipan, commanded by Lieutenant General Yoshigutsu Saito, numbered approximately 30,000 soldiers, dug into prepared positions across an island of volcanic ridges, dense jungles, and natural cave systems that provided almost perfect defensive terrain. When the Marines hit the beaches on June 15th, the Japanese opened fire with everything they had. The first waves suffered enormous casualties. Men died in the water before they even reached the sand. Those who made it ashore found themselves pinned down on a narrow beachhead under artillery and mortar fire from positions they could barely see. By the end of the first day, approximately 2,000 Americans had been killed or wounded. They had secured a beachhead roughly 10 miles wide and perhaps at most half a mile deep. The island was 13 miles long, by the way. The fighting that followed was unlike almost anything American forces had previously encountered in the Pacific. The Japanese did not fight from fixed positions and wait to be overwhelmed. They counterattacked massively at night in the kind of close quarters combat that negated American advantages in firepower and air support. On the night of June 16th, Japanese tank and infantry forces launched a counterattack that came within yards of breaking through the Marine lines. It was stopped, but barely. As American forces pushed inland, through sugarcane fields, up volcanic ridges, through cave systems that had to be cleared one by one with flamethrowers and explosives, they encountered a Japanese garrison that fought with a ferocity rooted in something beyond military discipline. Japanese soldiers had been told, and many genuinely believed, that American capture meant torture, mutilation, and death. Surrender, in the Japanese military culture of the era, was not an option that honor permitted. The result was that almost no Japanese soldiers surrendered. They fought until they died, or they killed themselves rather than be taken. The naval dimension of the battle produced one of the most lopsided engagements in the history of aerial warfare. As the invasion fleet supported the Saipan landings, the Japanese Imperial Navy launched a massive carrier based airstrike, Operation Ago, intended to destroy the American fleet and cut off the invasion force. What resulted was the Battle of the Philippine Sea on June 19th and 20th, 1944. American fighter pilots, flying the new Hellcat fighters and guided by radar controlled interception, destroyed the attacking Japanese aircraft in such numbers that American aviators nicknamed the engagement the Great Marinera's Turkey Shoot. Japan lost approximately 600 aircraft and three aircraft carriers. American losses were negligible by comparison. It was the effective end of Japanese naval air power. Japan would never again be able to mount a carrier based air offensive of any significance. On Saipan, the fighting ground on through late June and into July. American forces pushed the Japanese garrison north, compressing it into an even smaller perimeter on the island's northern tip. On July 7th, 1944, Lieutenant General Saito, wounded, his position hopeless by now, ordered a final banzai charge. What came at the American lines that morning was the largest banzai charge of the entire Pacific War. Approximately 4,000 Japanese soldiers, many of them wounded, some armed with nothing more than bayonets fixed to broken rifles, some carrying only sharpened bamboo sticks, charged south into the American positions. They overran two Army battalions, and they kept coming. Marine artillery fired at point blank range. When it was over, more than 4,000 Japanese soldiers lay dead. The battle for Saipan was effectively finished. The island was declared secure on July 9th, 1944. But the battle's most haunting chapter came not from the fighting, but from what happened to the island's civilian population. Saipan had approximately 20,000 Japanese and Okinawan civilians living on it when the battle began. Japanese propaganda had told them what American capture would mean. As American forces pushed north, hundreds of civilians, men, women, and children, gathered on the cliffs at the island's northern tip, a place now known as Suicide Cliff and Banzai Cliff. American loudspeakers broadcast appeals to surrender. American soldiers came into the water begging people not to jump. They jumped anyway. Some threw their children into the sea first. An estimated 1,000 civilians died at the cliffs. The images that American soldiers and journalists witnessed there and could never forget were among the factors that shaped American military thinking about what an invasion of the Japanese home islands would actually cost. If civilians died by the hundreds rather than surrender on a small Pacific island, then what would happen when American forces landed on Japan itself? The fall of Saipan had immediate political consequences in Japan as well. Prime Minister Hideki Tojo resigned within just days of the island's fall. His government had staked its credibility on the defense of the Marineros. The Marineros were lost. Within months, B 29 superfortresses were flying from Saipan's airfields to bomb Japanese cities. The atomic bombs that ended the war were delivered from Tinian, the island just 5 miles from Saipan, captured in the weeks that followed. The road to Hiroshima ran through Saipan. The Battle of Saipan cost the United States approximately 3,400 killed and 13,000 wounded. Of the 30,000 Japanese defenders, fewer than 1,000 survived to be taken prisoner. The History Brief. Today on Some History News, we're heading into the rugged beauty of the Scottish Highlands, where archaeologists have uncovered the remains of a long forgotten, illegal whiskey operation hidden deep inside one of Scotland's most stunning national parks. According to reporting from the Smithsonian Magazine, researchers working in the Cairngorms National Park discovered the remnants of a clandestine distillery dating back to the 18th or early 19th century, a time when whiskey production in Scotland was often driven underground. At first glance, the site looked unremarkable, just scattered stones and faint traces of old structures tucked into the landscape. But closer examination revealed something much more intriguing. Archaeologists identified the remnants of a kiln, a furnace, and a water management system, all key components used in traditional whiskey production. Nearby, they also found evidence of peat burning and grain processing, strongly suggesting that this remote location once hosted an illicit distilling operation. And of course, the secrecy seemed very intentional. During the 1700s as well as 1800s, the British government imposed heavy taxes on whiskey production, leading many Scottish distillers to evade authorities by operating illegally in isolated valleys and mountain glens. Smugglers and underground distillers became so common that entire regions developed reputations for hidden whiskey networks. The highlands, with their rugged terrain and countless remote hideaways, were perfect for this. Distillers often built operations near streams for fresh water and concealed them in difficult to reach areas where tax collectors would struggle to find them. Smoke from the stills could be hidden in misty valleys, and local communities frequently protected the operations from any authorities. Researchers say this newly discovered site appears to fit that pattern perfectly. What makes the find specifically significant is also how well preserved it is. Archaeologists believe that the distillery may have been abandoned very quickly, leaving behind physical traces of a shadow economy that rarely survives in the archaeological record. And in Scotland, whiskey wasn't just alcohol, it was culture, livelihood, and identity. The fact that illegal distilling became so widespread that it eventually forced the government to rethink its approach. The Excise Act of 1823 dramatically reduced licensing fees and taxes, effectively legalizing much of the whiskey trade and paving the way for Scotland's modern whiskey industry. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying this show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both of those links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. And don't forget to look for our YouTube channel where we have different series that are not part of this main feed, as well as a place you could watch the interviews every single Friday instead of just listening to them. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.